Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. This is Yankee and the Brit Sunday pregame show. And we're running a little late because Maddie wants to wear sunglasses in the sun.
I just totally lost track of when games actually are, which is just terrible for me. I had to help somebody get to the hospital and come back, but they're all fine now, so that's good. That's the important thing. And I'm now in a rural Colombian village, just waiting for them to be okay.
Yeah, well, we're Americans. We don't care if they're okay.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right,
let's talk about some crazy games last night.
Well, it looked like both of us were going to go 0-2 for a second, but we went 1-1 on our picks.
Yeah.
That point spread I thought the Seattle had it for a minute. They were playing exactly how they had to play. And I know people are going to say what they want, but that phantom ineligible down the field changed the whole momentum of the Seahawks game. When they called him in the red zone for a play that they were not down the field and moved him back, that took them out. Then they fumbled the next play. I think it changed the whole game, and I think the refs had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I think they were really doing a great job of playing the game that they needed to play to beat them. And looking at it at halftime, it looked so promising. We looked like we were on it for a while. It looked great. But yeah, they just as soon as San Francisco get in front, you kind of have to play the way that they want you to play, which is you have to move away from the run and you have to move more towards passing the ball down the field, which is not Geno Smith's game, and it's really not the best way that the 49ers can win a game, because it means that they can set their D-line on you and move from there.
And it just proved that I really think it proved that the 49ers are definitely beatable.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like it was still what was the point spread? A 9-point spread, and it still looked very close at halftime. So I'm not going to say that this is the indefinite article for the 49ers to win, but I mean they did just put up 41 points in a playoff game, which is pretty impressive.
Brock Purdy is the future of the 49ers, definitely. He is their future quarterback, so I am very interested to see what they are going to do with Trey Lance.
Yeah, I think Brock Purdy really showed the poise that you wanted to see from him. That does the rookie have what it takes to be? Does the rookie have what it takes to be there and really do it in the big moments? And he really did start to take it away from them. He looked very impressive, completing his passes well, and he runs that offense. Again, I think it shows that Kyle Shanahan's offense can kind of run for anybody.
He was partying with Pablo Escobar's boys over there in Colombia. They were smuggling some cocaine.
That's me, you know. That's me. He's on the cocaine. That's me.
He's on some Rick James shit. I think Purdy looked better than Jimmy G in that offense.
Yeah, I mean, where Purdy really gets it over Jimmy G is, one, he's available, and two, he's just shown it in the playoffs that he can do that. Like Jimmy G, the 49ers have got to the playoffs and they've got to the Super Bowl with Jimmy G, but is it in spite of Jimmy G? Whereas Brock Purdy seems to play a nice assisting role to what they've.
He seems to have more arm talent too than Jimmy G.
Yeah, I think the talk in that arm really surprised me watching it over again this morning, because I watched as much as I could of it yesterday and then watched it again this morning. But the torque in that arm was pretty impressive.
He's got some good escapability also. I was very impressed with the way he can move around. So I was impressed with Brock Purdy, but I do think that it shows that the 49ers are a great team, but they are vulnerable.
Yeah, definitely. A better team, like there are better teams in the NFC than the 49ers, than the Seahawks, right? And there's certainly teams that can, because the Vikings can play a very similar game to what Seattle were able to do.
Like, I'm not saying that the Vikings are a better team, but they actually, I think, would have been a better matchup because they can score more.
Yeah, and the Cowboys as well. The Cowboys can play that game as well, where you stop that D-line by rushing the ball. And that's what the Cowboys do best. And they rush the ball from there. And then you just need some talent on the outside, which is what they have. And we'll see how you can slow the offense down. I think we're talking a lot about how you can beat that 49ers defense, but that offense is starting to look more and more imperious every single game they play, especially with Brock Purdy taking the helm.
There was something in that fucking game. It's like, how do you let Kittle that wide open? How do you let Ayuk that wide open? Like, they were wide open. And I'm like, how do you let these guys get that wide open was the problem.
Yeah, definitely. You can see some better run.
This fucking guy.
I wonder if the Seahawks defense is too young for that occasion.
You should have picked them then. If you wanted to see the upset, you should have picked them.
Yeah, I wonder if the Seahawks were too young for that occasion. Maybe their defense is a year early for that occasion. Maybe.
So let's talk about the other game, the Jags game. I throw 4 interceptions and still ball the fuck out in the second half. Trevor Lawrence game. I don't even know what to think about that because on interception 3, I was like, oh, this fucking game is over. I text you and said that Trevor Lawrence is having an awful game, and then he comes out and has an amazing second half. Asante Samuel, 3 picks in 1 game.
Yeah, he was playing awful. Like, he was playing really, really bad. And what you're looking at from your quarterback in that situation is, especially your elite ones, is you're having a bad half. Is it going to be a bad game? And for Trevor Lawrence, it wasn't a bad game overall. He did a great job. He did a great job in really bouncing back, and that's what you like to see. And again, it's the Chargers situationally. The Chargers situationally are an awful team. You shouldn't lose from, 27-0 up. There is no way you should lose a playoff game when you're 27-0 up, when you have Austin Eckler and Justin Herbert running your offense as well. There's no way that should happen. They still managed to give up that many points with Asante Samuel having a very good game as well. And like their defense, it wasn't like their defense played badly. It's just Trevor Lawrence just started balling out of nowhere.
And it shows how hypocritical the talking heads are because if any other quarterback has that game, all they do is crush him for the 4 turnovers. But because it's Trevor Lawrence, they're like, oh, look at how amazing that was.
Yeah, if Dak Prescott had that game, he'd be getting it in the same with Kirk Cousins as well. Like he came out and he won a playoff game 27-0 down. Let's look at that. Let's not look at the playoffs. But he is the Messiah, Trevor Lawrence, for a lot of these guys. Like a lot of these guys' jobs and their draft picks are based on how Trevor turns out over the next few years.
Yeah, that game was crazy because I was almost about to turn it off a few times. And so at the second half, I'm watching, and when they scored to get to 14-27, I was like, if they can stop them and score again, they'll be fine. And then I got a phone call. I walk outside. I talk on the phone for a minute. I come back in, and the score's 30-20.
Yeah, I think like the Jags do have that ability to just go off, right? They look like they found that ability to go off from absolutely out of nowhere, which is just crazy from them. But I still just want to harp back to how are the Chargers going to give up a 27 point lead in a playoff game when you have Justin Herbert and Austin Eckler? And I mean, this has to, like, for me, this is it for Brandon Staley. Under for 3 years in a row. After you said that yesterday, I really thought about it. And he is underachieved for 3 years in a row. That's an incredible thing to still have his job for.
I'd have fired him before we got on the plane.
Yeah, like he's not coming back with us. You get your own flight. Back. Yeah, thanks, man.
Hey,
get your own flight back.
Shout out to all those people who subscribed in the last 24 hours, too. We got like 17 subscribers in the last 24 hours. Shout out to all of you.
Thanks so much, guys. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, I like it. Shug says, find your own ride home. I'll give him a ride, but he's fired. Like, I said that about Greg Joseph 4 times this year, that they should fire him and make him walk home. So, like, I'm not the nicest guy. I probably shouldn't own a team because there'd be players that didn't have a ride home.
Yeah. Greg Joseph wasn't using his leg very well, so he may as well use them to walk home, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I said. Greg Joseph is the most Vikings kicker ever because anything under 40, he doesn't miss unless it's an extra point. anything over fucking 60, he doesn't miss. But God forbid that thing's between 40 and 50. We ain't making it. So I don't know.
Should we move on to the Vikings with that chat about Greg Joseph and how you're feeling about today's game?
Let's hit those Dolphins-Bills first, since they're the first game.
Yeah.
The Bills are 13.5 favorites at home.
Yeah.
I don't usually do big points. Yeah, I don't do big point spreads, but give me the Bills in that 13.5 because the Dolphins limped into the playoffs and now they're on their third string quarterback while they're in there.
Yeah, give me the Bills in this game as well. I think they're just going to give me the Bills covering the spread in this game as well. Yeah.
Did you see that DeMar's with the team? DeMar is with the team. Yeah, you guys are done. There is something about that emotion. They're done. Dolphins are walking into a buzzsaw.
Yeah, he's the galvanizing. We didn't know how he's going to look, and it galvanized them anyway. And now he's up and back in with the team. That's going to galvanize them even more. The Dolphins, they've had a rough year with injuries. I think they're really doing the right thing with Tua as well. Full praise to them for keeping Tua out of the game. Well done to them, and not getting a doctor to come in and clear him. That's the right thing to do. Now the Dolphins still pose danger. They still have Tyreek Hill. They still have Jalen Waddle. The Bills' secondary hasn't been great, so they still pose a problem, but not with Skylar Thomas.
Yeah, well, that's an amazing fan base you have.
Yeah, definitely.
I just thought you should know Bills Mafia is one of the best fan bases. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. With that 7th round rookie and them dialing up blitzes from absolutely everywhere to come get him, how much time are they going to have? Miami should only be running screens, as far as I'm aware. Is Raheem Mostert playing as well? I know he broke his hand.
Yeah, I don't know. I know he was listed as questionable, but I don't know if he's in.
Yeah, I know he has a thumb injury. Will he be able to grip the ball? And I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see if he plays. I mean, they have a great backup there as well.
Oh wait, I don't know. I thought that was him on the field, but it's not.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
No,
I mean, they have a good running game.
Wilson. It looks like Wilson's their starting running back.
Not a bad backup anyway, but Raheem Mostert run for great yards against the Bills earlier this season. Let's remember the Bills have the Dolphins have beaten the Bills, although it was 130 degrees on the Bills sideline at the time, and now it's going to be a nice day, 30 degrees and 5 miles an hour of wind in Buffalo, and not too bad, but not 130 degrees on the sideline.
Look, the Bills are a better team. I think we both agree. Better quarterback, that kind of thing. You could argue maybe that the Dolphins have a better receiving core, but Stephon Diggs is the best receiver on the field right now. And DeMar's in the locker room, bro. Yeah, that's definitely. DeMar's in the locker room. It means more to me than any of the other shit we could throw out there because I think that team is coming to play.
Could you see the Dolphins getting anywhere near this? Is that the only way that they can has to be through screens, trickery, because Skyler's going to push it down the field, which is where you beat the secondary. So they need to take the playoff there. No, Teddy's not playing.
Hey, Shug, second, maybe. Second. JJ. JJ's the best receiver in the league this year. We can argue over a career. I get you because JJ's only got 3 years, but JJ's the best receiver in football this year.
Yeah, I think Jamar Chase puts himself in that conversation, but slots himself in behind JJ as well. And
he said Diggs was the best wide receiver in the league, and I was like, over time, maybe we can argue that, but this year it's JJ.
Awesome. And Tyreek Hill as well.
Look at give us Josh Allen and see what happens. Give the Vikings Josh Allen and see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like Josh Allen is a big game player. He's going to come in and play some great football. How are you feeling about your Vikings, Jay? Are you nervous today?
Sick. I'm always sick though. Sick for this. You know how sick I get during a regular season game?
Yeah.
I absolutely believe the Vikings can win this game, and I'm absolutely sick to my stomach.
Yeah. I think like, what's the spread again? 3?
3.
Yeah, disrespectful. I mean, they're two teams when you look at them statistically don't make sense in them being here, right? Like they don't totally make sense in being in the playoffs when you look at them statistically, but then when you actually look at them on the field, like if you just watch the Vikings games, throw the stats out the window. If you watch the Vikings games, they deserve to be here. They're a well-built football team.
The only stat that they have is that point differential, which nobody ever talked about until this year.
First time I've ever heard it as a stat. And it's an interesting stat. It's a great point. But basically what I've learned from that is when you guys lose, you fucking lose. But then when you're in a close game, you win that game. And that's what the playoffs is all about.
We're going to win this game by less than 7 or get blown out by 40. I've been saying it for a week.
Yeah. And the Giants did. Yeah, the Giants did come in strong. Like the Giants came in strong after the to finish off the season. They look good. Danny Dimes had a great season. I don't think he's had enough spoken about him. Like still not an amazing quarterback, but has fully solidified himself as a rightful starter in the NFL. And,
well, 2 things. He's better than Justin Fields. And 2, what I'm excited about is that Mike Pettin, it's a rumored that Mike Pettin is taking more control over this Vikings defense, our assistant head coach, than Ed Donatel this week.
Yeah. All right, okay. That's an interesting move coming into the playoffs, but
well, he's our assistant head coach.
You got to do what you got to do, right, to get it done.
And from what I understand is, and I don't know how true this is just rumor mill, but they keep telling Ed Donatel how they want him to run the defense, and he's not listening to them fully. So Mike Pettin's a lot in on the game plan this week, which I think is a better idea because I would have been a bigger fan of Mike Pettin than Ed Donatel for the defensive coordinator at the beginning of the year anyway.
Yeah, and I think the way that you guys have got to win is by complementary football. Like your defense isn't good enough to stand alone. And your offense, although capable of winning in shootouts, I wouldn't always fancy. And I mean, I fancy you against the Giants in a shootout, don't get me wrong. But as we move into the playoffs, everybody needs to be working together on the same structure with the Vikings. So I think that's really, really important that everybody's listening to the same room and the same chat and all of that kind of stuff. I'd be surprised if you lost this game, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was in 7 points. And I think you guys dial back on what's got you into those playoffs and that confidence in winning in the short games.
Yeah, I think that all play. We've talked about this. I think it plays a role that you get confident and you're like, I can do this. We can win close games. We can come back, that kind of thing. But I don't know, man. The playoff football, it's one and done if you lose. So I get more nervous and I'm never comfortable with a Vikings game.
I don't want anything to do with the Cowboys game, to be perfectly honest. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't even want to think about it, so I don't even know what you're going through.
All right, well, let's talk some Ravens-Bengals. The Bengals are 8.5-point favorites at home. That's another big spread. Maddie dipped because of some Colombian internet. I think with Lamar out, there's no way the Ravens win this game, and I also think that the Bengals are going to cover the point spread. I think if Lamar was playing, it might be a whole different ball game. Yeah, I think Brady's going to show out also. Maddie don't want to hear that, but I think that I'm picking Dallas. I'm picking Dallas to lose in that game. I got Tampa winning that game. I think it's crazy and disrespectful that they're -2.5 at home for Tampa. But I get it's the record. It's like the way they've played. But week 17, man, the Bucks were clicking. And then they rested everybody, got more time off. So I think that was a big deal too. And fuck you and your Giants thing right there, Shug. Fuck you and your Giants thing.
So I need to officially change my pick. I'm going with the Giants.
You're stuck. I got it on the screen. Fuck that. No, I got.
Yep.
You're only going with the Giants because of me.
Nope. I'm officially changing my pick after hearing Maddie talk about Danny Dimes. I think I need to go with the Giants. So
stop it. I feel this is a personal attack. So you went 2-0 yesterday.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna lie. I didn't watch. I didn't get a chance to watch either one of the games yesterday. I caught parts of the Jags game, and I seen the highlights. But up until halftime, I thought, I was definitely going 1-1. And then when I woke up this morning, I seen the Jags won. I was like, oh, okay, that's surprising. So, yeah, I mean, I think today the games are pretty set though. The Bengals, I feel like they're gonna, easily handle that game. Giants, they should easily handle the Vikings after Kirk Cousins turns into a pumpkin. And, the Bills with DeMar in the locker room, that's going to be a big motivation for them.
It's funny that everybody says that because I can't remember a game, and I'm sure there is one, but I literally, as a Viking game fan, cannot literally remember a game that Kirk Cousins cost the Vikings.
I think it's just the fact that he always starts off so great every season, and then he like disappears midway through the season. So I think
Look at Maddie now.
Not him costing games.
Look at Maddie now. Got a whole different background. That kind
Yeah,
of
I had to find a decent place for signal. It just went from out of nowhere.
Go back into that coffee shop. They got pissed at you yesterday.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. From now on, I've got a spot to actually do it. It's just the past 2 days have been hellish. All right, what have we got here? Oh, you're picking the Cowboys. That's nice.
Yeah, he picked the Vikings and then switched his pick and came on with a Giants emblem. I think that has to do with me and the fact that I was going to say he lives in the same state, but he doesn't live in New Jersey, so he doesn't literally live in the same state.
Yeah.
Because that's technically the New Jersey Giants, no matter what anybody wants to say.
And the New Jersey.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's a brave pick. I mean, the Cowboys, I think, is I think the Cowboys, if you look in the media, they're becoming less and less of a favorite every time we go through. They're almost becoming an underdog now. Yeah. Like you look at them, they're becoming an underdog as we go through. The Bills are like an easy hit on for the win, right? It's just whether they cover the spread. And yeah, that's the Bengals might be a good fun game, I think.
Hey, I got to ask both of you now that I just made fun of New York with the Jets or the Giants because of New Jersey. What do you guys think about this push to get the Jets to Brooklyn?
Oh, I haven't heard about that.
I think it would make more sense. Like the Jets fan base realistically is like the Jets fan base is more New York, right, than the Giants fan base. The Giants fan base are more New Jersey.
I know that the Jets have an out after next year, I believe, to get out of the Giants stadium, and some big politicians making a push to try to get the Jets to come to Brooklyn and build them a new stadium. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And I think the way that the Nets were embraced in Brooklyn, I think it would work. I just don't know if it'll happen.
Yeah, it may not be such a good thing for the Giants because with it being in New York, I think some Giants fans might convert to Jets fans at that point.
Yeah.
And even Payne Gusto, who's a Tampa fan, said if they went to Brooklyn, he goes, I'd still be a Tampa fan first, but low key, I'd have to cheer for the Jets because they're from Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, man. I feel like I like the idea of like the Giants fans moving over to the Jets. I mean, how strong are their allegiances? Where do they really lie?
So would they then be the Brooklyn Jets or would they be the New York Jets still?
I don't know. That
still the
New
New
York
York Jets. Gotta be.
There was that one season. You might not remember because I was young too, which means you guys were way younger. But there was a season that they literally were called the New Jersey Jets.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'm only asking because in the NBA you got the New York Knicks and the Brooklyn Nets.
Right.
Would the NFL follow suit and do the same thing?
Yeah, and that's all up to the owner, right? So if they move, would that be Woody Johnson? Would he rather be the Brooklyn Jets? I don't know. Brooklyn Jets doesn't roll off the tongue as well as the New York Jets, but maybe that's just because we're so used to the name.
It doesn't, but if you think from a marketing standpoint,
that's true.
Podcast, like just selling the namesake of Brooklyn, and putting that on jerseys is gonna make you a bunch of money. And then if they followed suit with like how the Brooklyn Nets did and like blacked out their jerseys, they're gonna go crazy as far as merchandise wise. So.
And I don't know if it's the same in New York. It might be way different, but like in the Midwest, when people talk about New York City, like Brooklyn's the first borough that comes up almost all the time.
Yeah, I think it's probably the most popular as far as like well-known borough there is.
Yeah, and I think it has to do with the Nets, the hip hop, a lot of stuff like that. Like I think people just go right to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So with the Bills game, do you think they're going to cover that huge spread of 13.5?
I think it'll probably be like a 10-point game.
See, I never take that double-digit spread, but in this one, being on the third-string quarterback with the Dolphins, and I think people might underestimate.
I forgot about. Yeah.
And DeMar Hamlin being in that locker room, I think that's huge. I think they are going to come out on fire.
Yeah, they might be able to give them a 20-point spread.
Yeah, like I just think not only is it a third-string quarterback, but like what they went through and their boys back in the locker room, I think that people are in trouble with the Buffalo Bills. And before the year, and it was somewhat tongue-in-cheek because they both lost 4 Super Bowls, but I picked the Vikings-Bills Super Bowl.
Okay.
I mean, it's because I'm a Vikings fan and they both lost 4 and it was the beginning of the year and you can have fun with it. But I figure we're at this point, and until I can't, I'm still going to ride with that pick.
Yeah, I actually had a Bills-Cowboys Super Bowl at the beginning of the year. So, we'll see if that happens. But
yeah, I picked Philly to win the division this year, but I did not pick Philly to be this good. And Philly is really impressing me with the way they play this year, too. So whoever plays, I don't think anybody right now wants to face Philly or the 49ers.
So do you think Philly and the 49ers are the top 2 teams, even though they're both on the NFC? Do you think they're the top 2 teams left, even with Kansas City in there still?
No, I think the top 4 teams are the 2 you just said in Buffalo and Kansas City, and I could see any of the 4 beating each other. But out of those, I think the 49ers are the least. So they'd be ranked 4 out of those 4 teams for me.
Okay. See, I think the 49ers, just with the momentum they have right now and probably like playing off the emotion of Brock Purdy, because like nobody expected him to be in this position a few weeks ago even. So I think that kind of puts them above the Eagles. I think the Eagles are about to fall off a little bit. And
it could. I could see that. I trust the Eagles, the Bills, and the Chiefs to put up points in bunches, where I don't know if I trust the 49ers to win a shootout. I think that's the only place I hold them back. But they have such a monster line that maybe it never even turns into a shootout when you're playing the 49ers.
Yeah, and although I'd like to see the Cowboys play in the Super Bowl, I don't think they're there yet. They're kind of too inconsistent on offense. You're either going to get a great game or you're going to get a bad game from them. So, and it's almost the same with their defense at this point. So, them winning out and getting there, highly unlikely.
I think you're the only person who's not a Cowboys fan who has ever uttered the words, "I wanted to see the Cowboys in the Super Bowl."
I got family that's Cowboys fans, so.
Fair enough, but you don't hear that too often from anybody outside of Cowboys fans.
Yeah.
Hey, if the Cowboys win this game, I'm going to have to eat so much shit because I had been at the Cowboys fans all week on Facebook.
Especially with the Vikings losing to the Giants and then the Cowboys win right after it.
Well, see, I never talk shit on the Vikings, so nobody can ever inbox me. What now? Talk that shit now, because I have a theory. It's bad enough for your team to lose, but it's even worse if you got to eat shit from all the shit you talked all week.
Very true.
So, like, I never talk shit about the Vikings. Also, I'm a weird person, and I believe that I can jinx a football team. So,
yeah, I could see that.
I'm that weird fuck that if I'm sitting in a certain position and they start driving the ball and I move and we start fucking up, I'll sit in the other position again. Or if my wife's in the room and we start moving the ball, I'm like, sit down. You can't leave yet.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's only crazy if it doesn't work.
So you're like a fanatic then.
Yeah, but it's only crazy if it doesn't work. That's funny though. My wife's cousin, she went to the bathroom during a Packer game because their whole family's Packer fans. And she goes to come out the bathroom, and the Packers were driving, and her husband was like, "Wait, you can't come out the bathroom yet." So I'm not the only weird one.
So now, saying that the Bills win like we both predict today, the Bills play the Jaguars next week, right?
What other game was it? I'm trying to think.
Because there's Kansas City.
As long as the Ravens don't upset the Bengals, right?
Okay.
No, wait. The Bengals are 4. The lowest seed goes to Kansas City. The second lowest seed goes to Buffalo. But I'm trying to think. I can't remember who was one. Yeah, so if the Bills win, they'd be 2. Bengals would go to the Bills if they win, and then Jags would go to – no, the Jags are
the 4 seed, I think.
Oh, they are, which the Bengals are the 3rd. So if the Bengals win and the Bills win, they're going to play each other.
That's going to be a good game.
And then the Jags would go to Kansas City.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. The Jags are one of those teams that if they snuck into the Super Bowl, I wouldn't be all that shocked with just that team believes in themselves. Dougie P's fucking coaching his ass off. I know Trevor Lawrence threw 4 interceptions, but the way he turned it around in the second half, and I don't know. I think that they're another team that people are going to have their hands full with if they play them.
Yeah, I think the problem with the Jags right now is just having to go up because the route they're going to have to go to get to the Super Bowl. So you're probably going to have to go against Kansas City next week, which is a high-power offense. And then the week after, you're either going against Cincinnati or Buffalo, which is another high-powered offense.
Yeah, I think they're a year early. Like Maddie and I at the beginning of the year both expected them to be better, but not make a push until next year. And it seems like they're a year early from what most people thought was going to happen, because it's when you got Doug Peterson's first year and he does so much with that team, it just proves that Urban Meyer was not fit for the NFL.
Oh, yeah, definitely not. So, and, they gave Trevor Lawrence that time that he needed to get adjusted to the league a little bit. They gave him a running back. That was a huge factor this year because nobody expected Edney to come in and play like that. So, with them getting the tight ends going and all that, they definitely got like a good or a good looking upcoming year coming. And they're still in the playoffs this year. So.
Yeah, there's something about former quarterback coaching, because half the teams in the playoffs right now, their head coaches are former quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Doug Peterson, though, I don't think he got enough credit. People almost act like he lucked into a Super Bowl in Philly, but he did it with Nick Foles, and we've seen that Nick Foles since then can't play. There's something about Doug Peterson can coach. He was a backup quarterback for Brett Favre and other dudes for a lot of years. There's something about that.
Yeah, for sure. What's up, Red?
All right. Well, we're almost to kickoff. Shug decided to throw that Giants emblem in my face so we can get out of here.
Remember, the Giants are going to win today. I'm not taking the Vikings. That's a typo on the bottom of the screen. So,
hey, you know what they always say? Go at your first, when you're taking a test, go at your first thought, and you changed your mind. So, I'm just saying.
So you got to tune in next week, see if I would go 6-0 or 5-1.
Oh, look at you. You're already like Bills, shoe in, Cincinnati, shoe in. I like it. I like it. I don't think the Ravens have a chance with Tyler Huntley playing, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't.
I would have picked the Bengals even if Lamar was playing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Bengals, I don't know. They just they're really playing that momentum right now, and like they haven't lost a game in a while, I don't think.
No, and they feel like the NFL fucked them, which that can really galvanize your team, us against them.
Yeah, which I think will be a huge factor next week when the Bills and the Bengals play.
I know you're a Bills fan, but doesn't it almost feel like with everything that happened, they're like the Bills are destined for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, it feels like one of the movie scripts or something, where they make it. Like it almost feels like if they make it to the Super Bowl, DeMar Hamlin is going to come out there and play and get an interception return for a touchdown. Like
right, and win the game for him.
Yeah.
I know he probably. I don't know if he'll ever play again. I know he might be able to, but I think it was Chris Pronger for the Penguins had the same thing happen in hockey and played 10 days after he died.
Yeah. Well, I think they said that medically there's nothing wrong with him at this point. So
And he's an alpha football player, so I agree. But I'm just saying, at some point, I would never hold it against a guy who died twice on a field and goes, "Nah, I'm good."
Yeah, that's the thing. I think if he doesn't play again, it's something he personally decides to do, and mentally just doesn't want to do it or emotionally can't do it. But I think physically he's able to play again at some point.
Hey, and he's going to play because the first thing he asked the doctors after coming out of being in, I don't know if that's a coma or whatever you call it, but after waking up, he just says, "Who won?"
Yeah. I didn't believe that when I first read it, but then I started reading stories like immediately after that. Like the team, I guess like players on the team were taking bets and stuff like, oh, this is going to be the first thing he says when he comes out. And did we win was one of them. So I guess that was just like the type of person he is or whatever.
Yeah, and he didn't realize he was out for 2 days either.
Yeah. So
he probably thought he was out for like an hour. You know what I mean? Woke up and like, who won? Yeah, that kind of thing. Like, that's some scary shit, though.
For sure.
All right. Well, it's almost kickoff. Thanks again for joining us this week. We'll see how you go. I really hope that you win all your games except for the one on your screen right now.
Nope. We'll tune in next week when I'm 6-0. Giants are in the second round of the playoffs. Kirk Cousins sitting at home.
Well, if they win, right now, it would be, we still have to wait for Monday night's game to see what the seeding would be if the Giants win. If the Vikings win, it makes the seeding a lot simpler because the Vikings would go to San Francisco no matter what.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. Enjoy the playoffs games. And Maddie and I will be back to preview tomorrow's game before the game, as long as his Colombian internet lets him, which is starting to seem it's like a lot like Canadian internet. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's got them despair vibes.
Oh, shit. All right. I'm going to leave it at that because if you don't know, you won't know. But if you know, then you know with what Shug just said. One world, one love. Deuces.